Welcome back friends again in this new session on Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. This is an endpoint security solution from Microsoft. So we'll try to understand and leverage its nitty-gritty details. To start with, this is the very first session. So let's get started. So to first understand how this got evolved. So this Microsoft Defender for Endpoint is also referred to as MDE, but it was not Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Since its inception, it was Microsoft Defender ATP, which stands for ATP stands for like Advanced Threat Protection. It was referred to as Windows Defender ATP. Then it became Microsoft Defender ATP, as most of the solutions for Microsoft are getting into the umbrella of Microsoft, so they change it to Microsoft Defender ATP, and eventually they change it to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, or referred to as MDE. Okay. Then, if you want to access it, we have a consolidated security portal, which is securitycenter.windows.com, and then we have security.microsoft.com as well. So, what is MDE? So these are the two portals with which you can access the interface for Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. We will check that in upcoming sessions, correct? So first we need to understand what is Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, right? So I'll be using this abbreviation throughout MD, so just don't get confused with it. So MD is a security solutions for our endpoint. It includes domain join, personal devices, Windows, iOS, Android, Linux, and Mac. So basically we have these endpoints where our workloads are running, right? But we need to have a consistent understanding what are the signals and telemetry, or what are the behaviors which these machines are showing up, correct? This is important to keep things in control or secure, right? So that is the purpose which MD serves. It deploys a sensor in it, and then with that we'll get the telemetry out of these systems, and which you can analyze or insight or take alerts from it, right, based on some anomaly. Then why we use it? So why do we use Microsoft Defender for Endpoint? So traditional endpoint security solutions doesn't support are not mature enough in supporting the EDR. So what does EDR stands for? EDR stands for Endpoint Detection and Response. So they don't support all these things. And the threat and vulnerability management, which is also abbreviated as TVM, which are introduced in Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. So these are the key features. So there are other features as well, which are part of this Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. But these are which makes it different from the regular endpoint solutions which we have in the market, right? So MD is basically a four-stage process to make sure your endpoint is secured enough. So first thing is the prevention phase. So prevention is the first phase. So the right set of information to prevent any attack happening. So that is the first thing. It always emphasizes on preventing. So preventing is like reducing the attack surface, right? Then detection, like in this case, if something is not prevented, then it has to be detected first, right? So MDE has a detection capability if any anomaly is detected in the endpoint. So if there's any anomalous behavior being detected, MDE has that opportunity or features that it can identify that. Once it is identified, it has to be investigated. So that investigation capability also is there with MD. So once an anomaly is detected, MD offers with deep investigation for detailed analysis, right? So that is the thing which it has to offer. Then we have respond mechanism. So we need to respond eventually for it, right? So integration with threat intelligence and other things will help us to do the remediation and responding to safeguard the system. So to basically to safeguard we have. So where it is placed in Microsoft Defender Suite. So as we know, it is part of Microsoft Defender Suite. So Microsoft Defender Suite basically has MDO, it has MDE, it has Microsoft Cloud App Security, and it has Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. So this is the place where it is getting suited or getting fit. So this is in the hierarchy of Defender Suite. We have this. It's a part of our hierarchy of Defender Suite. This is device. Now, what are the components of MDE or Microsoft Defender for Endpoint? Now, when considering any endpoint security solution, we need an agent. We need a agent, or we need an agent to establish communication between the endpoint. Okay, so we need to have endpoint and the endpoint machine. So basically we need to have communication with the endpoint machine, right? So that agent will establish that connectivity. So that's how we'll get the telemetry out of that system. Okay, A Windows 10 has already embedded sensor in it, so we don't need to install any specific sensor for Windows 10 because this comes up with a sensor in it. Okay. Then why sensor is required? So as we have understood that we need to gather the telemetry out of that system, right? So for that purpose we need the sensor, but let's try to understand it better. Sensor can capture most of the data which is required from endpoint security perspective, right? So we need, eventually we are focused around the security of endpoint, right? And we need to track anything which is associated, which is in association with that. So for that purpose we'll always go with our agent deployment into the endpoint, correct? Now which means it collects all the behavioral data from the endpoint, like file hashes, registry changes which are there, and all this captured info will be sent or routed to the dedicated tenant. Dedicated tenants to whichever my endpoint is belonging to, because eventually I need to consolidate data, so it will be in the context. Consolidation will be in the context that it belongs to this tenant. This endpoint belongs to this tenant, so that's why it is all the consolidated data has been sent to the tenant for further analysis. Only the security aspect. Okay. Now, insight capability. This is a capability of Microsoft Defender for endpoint. So the amount of data generated is huge when telemetry from all the endpoint is getting collected. Okay, for instance, there are like 100 machines you are having, or 100 endpoints are there in your infrastructure. So this data will, there will be huge amount of data, correct? So, but not all the signals are this. For instance, one machine is generating 1,000 signals. All of them are not important. Only few of them are important or critical concern for us, correct? So that is important for us to understand which is important and not, or which is to be. Most of the signals are repetitive, redundant, etc. As it is indicating there. Nature has all the signals which have some relevant information. So few out of huge amount of signals, few signals which are of importance or showing some anomalous behavior will be turned into insights. Once the insight gets analyzed, so insights are getting analyzed. So this is also important. So first we have the signals. The signals are the one which are of relevant information. This will get turned into insights. Once the insights get analyzed, then alert will get generated. Now, cloud security analytics. So this is an analytics approach only. Signals, telemetry, insights, and they get analyzed. And post analysis, they generate the alerts. So this is very important. So this hierarchy is very important. This hierarchy is actually referred to as cloud security analytics. So when someone points out what is a cloud security analytics, you need to be very sure that we have signals getting generated from different systems, right? Out of them, few signals which are of critical importance get converted into insights. So those insights are get analyzed. Post to analysis, they will generate the alerts. We have something called as incident as well. Incident is nothing but a group of group of, and the alert. The smallest unit is the event, right? Like that. So that's the hierarchy. We'll try understand this hierarchy as we move forward in our course. So that is the important stuff. Now, threat intelligence is very important because this helps us to get it. So we do our analysis here based on the signals and all those things, but it is one-sided. Threat intelligence was also referred to as TI feeds. These are some third-party scoring mechanisms which indicates like we try to integrate TI feeds with our cloud security analytics to take better decisions, because this is something which we analyze and this is something coming from external world. So this helps us to take decisions whether we are actually in right line based on the scoring mechanisms being offered from other TI feeds. So Microsoft has its own TI feeds, like its own intelligence, threat intelligence team, which keeps on feeding these things, which you can integrate with our alerts to understand things better. So these are the features of Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. We have TVM capability, which is being offered from Microsoft. We have attack surface management. We also refer to as ASM. Okay. Then we have next generation protection endpoint detection and response. This is a EDR capability from Microsoft. This is automated investigation and response AR, and then threat experts are there with whom we can connect to understand things better, right? So I hope you got a good understanding about Microsoft Defender for endpoint. So stay tuned. We'll try to understand more on this side. Thank you.